Now the blood has four parts to it. We have the red blood cells, we have white blood cells, we have platelets, and we have blood plasma. Now as you take a look at this picture here, these are the red blood cells. They're easy to identify because they are the round red cells. Now red blood cells are important because their function is to carry oxygen to the cells. So whenever you take a breath and you bring oxygen into your lungs, the oxygen gets attached to these red blood cells, which then get pumped out of the heart to the body, and then these cells drop off the oxygen to the cells that need oxygen. Secondly, these white cells are called white blood cells, and we've seen them before, and we know that the white blood cells are the cells that fight infections for us. So these cells are the cells that are going to destroy viruses and bacteria and other foreign invaders or other foreign particles inside of our body to keep us healthy. Now these weird shaped cells that are not exactly as round as the other ones, these are called cell fragments, and these cell fragments are specifically called platelets. The function of platelets is to help us with blood clotting when we get a cut in our skin to prevent blood from continuously leaving the body. And the fourth part of the blood is called the blood plasma. Now the blood plasma is the liquid part of the blood and makes up over half of what the blood is. So that's why blood is a liquid, because it's made up of plasma. Now the blood plasma is important because the nutrients and the minerals that your cells need, they're dissolved in the plasma, and also the red blood cells and the white blood cells and the platelets flow in the plasma, so that's how it gets throughout the body. Blood has four functions. The four functions to be easily remembered because three of them have to do with transporting or movement of materials. And then the fourth function has to do with fighting off diseases. So let's take a look at our functions. The first function we're going to talk about is the blood carries oxygen from your lungs to your body cells. So when your heart pumps the blood out of your heart, it goes out to your body cells and delivers the oxygen that it received from the lungs. In return, since your cells are using up the oxygen to make energy, carbon dioxide is a waste product. As a result, the oxygen poor or deoxygenated blood returns to the heart, enters pulmonary circulation, goes into the lungs, and drops off the carbon dioxide into your lungs, picks up the oxygen from your lungs, and then we breathe the carbon dioxide out. So function 1, carries oxygen to your body cells and brings carbon dioxide from your body cells. Function 2, blood also carries other waste products from your cells to your kidneys to be removed. So your blood actually gets filtered inside of your kidneys and takes out excess salts, excess water, and urea waste, and that's how we produce urine. So urine is actually the waste product cleaned out of your blood. Our third function is that blood transports nutrients and other substances to your body. So remember, as we were saying, the blood plasma, the liquid part of your blood, is where the nutrients and other substances are floating and dissolved in, so they can move out to your cells and then diffuse into your cells. So these are our three main transport or movement functions, and our last function has to do with fighting infections. So function 4 of the blood has cells and molecules in blood to fight infections and help heal wounds. So remember, we talked about white blood cells and platelets. So as we learned in the last set of class notes for the cardiovascular system, the blood has actually four parts to it, and each part has a specific function. So the first part are red blood cells. Red blood cells are important because they actually have a protein called hemoglobin attached to them. Now here's your blood vessel with all the red blood cells flowing around in it, and here's your individual red blood cell right below. Now if we take a close look at the red blood cells and take a look at the surface, we'll notice that there's a protein called hemoglobin on it. So what will happen is, as your lungs diffuse oxygen into your blood, the oxygen will then go to the hemoglobin and attach to these attachment sites. And then these are where the oxygen molecules are held. So your hemoglobin molecules are the structures on your blood cells that actually carry the oxygen to your cells. So that's why red blood cells carry oxygen to the cells. Next, we have another type of blood cell called white blood cells, and as we've learned before, white blood cells fight bacteria and viruses and other foreign invaders. So if anything that gets into our body is capable of making us sick, our white blood cells go and destroy it. And when we are sick, that's when your white blood cells are in action, destroying any of these pathogens that are disrupting our homeostasis and making us not feel so well. Now, we also have the liquid part of our blood because, as we know, as we bleed, it's a liquid that flows out of our skin. So the liquid part of the blood is called the plasma, and it's mostly made of water And as we said before, this is where your nutrients are dissolved in. So this is how the nutrients like sugars, amino acids, and other materials flow through the blood to get to your cells. And then lastly, we have our platelets. Our platelets are irregularly shaped cell fragments that aid in blood clotting. So when you cut yourself, the platelets actually get stuck to the ragged edges of your cut, rip open, and release chemicals that'll cause the whole clotting sequence for your blood to start clotting so you can stop bleeding and then forming a scab to heal the wound. Okay, boys and girls, so let's take a look at how platelets clot the blood.
When a blood vessel tears or rips, platelets crowd together at the damaged site, sticking to one another and forming a small plug. The vessel constricts, slowing blood flow to the area, and the platelets release special messengers which cause clotting factors in the blood plasma to become active. These factors begin a series of chemical reactions that produce a mass of fibers at the site of the bleeding, made of a protein called fibrin. These chains form a net that traps red blood cells. The mass of fibrin and red blood cells hardens into a clot.
So these are the 4 parts of blood.